Hi. So it's time to build my indoor shed, but I realized before I could do that I need to make some adjustment to the flooring of the shed. Firstly, there is an overlap between these melamine sheets. There is a groove in the floor here, and I just put some leftover woods in there trying to level it out, but it isn't actually very level. Now, I'm not that kind of maker that find this kind of building tools and stuff enjoying. Actually, I find it very boring. I want to be doing the fun stuff with electronics and other projects. But I really need to get this shed up, and I need to get it correct so that it's out of the way and I can focus on the coming projects. So I just have to pull myself together and just get it done. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use this plywood here and cut a piece that will fit the groove, and then I find some support under that. So with the plywood and the groove and some support under there, I get the floor leveled. And I'm also going to cut these melamine sheets here so that they are not overlapping. And of course that's going to create a lot of sawdust, and I don't like that. But that's the final step I need to do now, and when I've done that, I can put up the shed, and then hopefully the sawdust problem is out of the way for a while. So yeah, let's do this. And as usual, I need to move this stuff away again. I'm going to start to move this sheet under this sheet. The shed is going to be 2 meters wide. Just mark here where to cut it. The same at this end. And now the tricky part. I'm going to do a long straight cross cut here with my circular saw. And how am I going to do this? The aluminium guide, the rod or the tube I have, it's only 2 meters, but I do have this plywood sheet with a factory cut side here that's supposedly is straight. If I arrange them like this, then I can do the cut. But I also need to get off the floor so that when I use the circular saw, I don't cut into the floor. So let's put this underneath here. I started by clamping the saw to the line, but of course now I can't clamp these together because then I can't move the saw. So what I can try is to put a piece of wood here and a piece of wood underneath so that I can clamp it here. I realized that the only thing I need to clamp together is the plywood sheet and the melamine sheet that I'm going to cut. Clamping the saw on the other side is a little bit more complicated, but by moving the blade guard out of the way and using the light, I actually can see where the blade is touching. I did it wrong. I need to cut on the outer side. And now I can move the plywood sheet up against there. This worries me. I'm flush here, but now the saw isn't parallel to the plywood sheet. Still, I'm positively sure that the blade is on the correct side of the line, but I'm not sure if I read this scale correctly. Now if I pivot the saw around the resting point of the blade so that it is parallel to the plywood sheet, if you take into account that the dot is on the right side, on the outer side of the blade, and this notch here is the width of the blade, then the line is actually correct. So maybe that's how you should read this scale. Now I have clamped down both sides, so the plywood sheet is clamped to the melamine sheet, and I've been checking with the saw. Move up the blade guard, and I see where the blade is going to cut, and it seems to be within an accuracy of, I would say the accuracy of the line and the sheet is at least within a millimeter. And now to the problem of dust extraction. I suppose I need to operate the saw with the left hand and move this dust container with the right hand. Now we're going to try to reduce the risk of chipping this melamine board. It's rotating in that direction, so the blade is coming up from the material and then we're going to get chipping. So the trick is to use tape. So I'm going to lay down some tape here on the cut. So the dust extraction isn't perfect in any way, but I suppose it would be much worse if I didn't have the vacuum on. So, well, that's why I'm building an indoor shed. While I'm at it, I'm going to cut a strip of this plywood to put in the groove in the floor. I want to save this factory cut side, so I'm going to do 2 cuts. I'm going to use this guide. Now you think that, why would that work? The guide will not be able to rest there, it will go under. Try to use this aluminium tube instead. I raise the blade guard, I put the blade to the marking, and then I just screw down the tube. And I'm going to do it this way, although I think there may be a problem with this, because the guide is on the part that I'm cutting loose, which means that the support this way, I'm actually cutting that away as I go. So this will only be supported on the front side, and so there is a risk that this is going to bend outwards, but I thought that let's try it for future reference and see how this works. If I need to do this in the future, it could be good to know how this material behaves. that was kind of interesting because the first cut I made with the blade raised up, I forgot to lower the blade to the cut depth of the material. The the saw was able to make a groove that didn't went through the material. So the result of that was that this guide actually hold on to the material all the way. And then I did a second pass to cut all the way. So yeah, that could be worth remembering for the future, that you can do one cut that doesn't go through and then a second cut that goes through, and in that way you actually can have the guide on this side. You learn by the mistakes. Now I want to use the cut off factory edge of this plywood and put it here as a guide. And of course I can't trust this side now. It's just a guessing game to take somewhere here and say this is 12.5. Then hope this edge isn't too wobbly. This piece is going to go into the groove in the floor, so it doesn't matter if it's a little wobbly on that side. When I got up, teeth on the correct side of the line, right side of the tooth on the line. There's actually quite a lot of sawdust that's not sucked up by the vacuum. But at least it seems to be the heavier dust that comes out, and the vacuum is actually taking care of the fine dust. Fingers crossed now that this is the final time I have to suck up dust in my apartment, because now I've done all the cuts. Will it fit? Now it won't, because it's too long. I laid out the melamine flooring, and then I can use that as a guide, because I know this one is flush. I can transfer this factory edge in here, because these edges aren't square. I can check them now. That's reasonably square. Why not use the jig that I built and the circular saw? This underneath, like that. Should be able to do a cross cut. Surprise, more sawdust. Moment of truth. Please, please, please. Yes. So we put that one there. Now we cut this one, and that goes there. And now we put this one on top of that. And finally, we have a floor. Ah, boring. Okay, let's put everything back. Well, let's hope this fits also. Well, there's quite a gap in here, but I suppose I can turn it around and use the factory edge on the other side. This is 2 meters and 5 millimeters there, and 2 meters and 5 millimeters here. That's okay. It's so boring, but it's so satisfying when it's done. So I think now the floor is finally laid out, and I can continue now and put up my indoor shed on this floor. So thank you for watching.
If you like my videos, feel free to do nothing. Just grab a cup of coffee
and enjoy.